Level 1. Sleep paralysis begins innocuously, with a subtle pressure, a slight weight on the chest. You wake up in your bed, or so it seems, but something's off. It feels like you're awake, yet you cannot move. You try to shift your body, lift your arms, but nothing responds. This initial stage of sleep paralysis is often described as a light pressure, where your body is still in the grip of sleep, but your mind is conscious. It's part of the body's natural sleep cycle. When we dream, particularly during REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, the body is temporarily paralyzed to prevent us from physically acting out our dreams. However, during sleep paralysis, this mechanism doesn't fade away as it should when you wake up. While the physical sensation of being unable to move is terrifying, this stage typically doesn't involve hallucinations, but it's just the beginning of a disturbing experience. The body knows something is wrong, but the mind can't make sense of it. In some cases, this first encounter is dismissed as a bad dream, but for many, it's the first clue that sleep paralysis is real, not imagined. Level 2. The weight on your chest no longer feels like pressure, it feels intentional. Something unseen is leaning down, matching your heartbeat, pressing harder each time you try to breathe. Air won't fill your lungs, your chest refuses to rise. You're not choking, but it feels like you should be. Your mind races through explanations, nightmare, heart attack, ghost, but none of them help. Your heart pounds against a body that won't obey, every thump echoing in the silence. This isn't just the paralysis of REM sleep anymore, it's your body's defense mechanism turned cruelly against you. The terror isn't in the thought of dying, it's in realizing you can feel every second of it, helpless, awake, and aware. You can't scream, you can't move, you can only endure the invisible weight that seems to breathe when you do. Level 3. This is where sleep paralysis takes a darker, more sinister turn. In the early stages of sleep paralysis, the sensation of being unable to move is terrifying enough. But for many, the experience is compounded by something far more disturbing, a sense of presence. You may sense that someone is in the room with you, even though there's no one physically there. This is the moment when your mind begins to hallucinate. You might see a shadowy figure standing near your bed, often described as an ominous, indistinct shape. This is where the line between reality and illusion becomes dangerously thin. Your mind, overwhelmed by fear and anxiety, manifests these figures as part of the hallucination. These figures are often described as menacing or threatening. In some cases, the figure is simply a vague shadow in the corner of the room, but in others, it's a fully formed entity, sometimes perceived as a demon or ghost. Psychologically, this can be traced back to paranoid delusions brought on by the state of immobilization and fear. The more frightened you become, the more vivid and intense these hallucinations become. This phenomenon is actually fairly common in sleep paralysis experiences and is rooted in the body's natural response to fear and helplessness as the mind tries to interpret what it can't control. Level 4. The pressure doesn't sit on your chest now, it lives beneath your skin. It's as if your entire body has turned solid, bones lock tight, nerves screaming in static. Your pulse thrashes in your ears. The sound fills the room, a private earthquake you can't escape. Each heartbeat feels like a hammer against your ribs. Your muscles burn with effort you never gave, straining against nothing. The sensation is both suffocating and electric, like your body is trying to tear itself awake. Reality blurs. Your bed feels distant, your limbs foreign. You can sense the room, but it's slipping away, edges softening like smoke. This is not fear anymore. It's resistance failing. The body, the brain, and the breath are no longer working together, and the silence between them feels infinite. Level 5. You've had enough. Something deep inside you begins to fight back. You order your body to move, now. At first, nothing. Then, a flicker. A finger twitches, small but monumental. The tiniest motion feels like a lifeline thrown into deep water. You focus on it, channel every ounce of will into that single spark of control. The paralysis tightens in response, like it knows you're resisting. Your body trembles between two states, sleep and wake, as if reality can't decide which to keep you in. You strain harder, a toe moves, a gasp breaks free. It's not victory yet, but you've drawn first blood in a war against your own dreaming flesh. The effort leaves you exhausted, yet you know, the harder you fight, the closer you get to escape or collapse. Level 6. At level 6, the hallucinations become no longer just passive, they invade every part of your perception. Now your mind becomes flooded with terrifying imagery. This level marks the arrival of the most vivid and disturbing visualizations, often combining elements of the real world with the darkest corners of the mind. Some experience a figure on top of them, an aggressive presence, often with a sinister or malevolent appearance. Others feel as if they are being suffocated, pinned by invisible forces that seem intent on harming them. These images may come in the form of shadowy figures, creatures with glowing eyes, or distorted human-like forms that appear real enough to touch. One of the most terrifying aspects of sleep paralysis is that the victim cannot scream, they cannot move, and their perception is completely distorted, making them feel utterly trapped. These visions are connected to the brain's misfiring during REM sleep. While the body sleeps, the mind is wide awake, and the result is a full-blown nightmare, but one with no escape. For many, these are not just dreams. They feel like genuine, tangible threats. The terror grows. With each second, the paralysis holds on, amplifying the emotional and physical stress. The mind, unable to differentiate between dream and reality, turns an ordinary bedroom into a chamber of horrors. And just when you think it can't get worse, the paralysis deepens. Level 7. At this stage, the paralysis feels not like an external force, but a vice that locks you in place, suffocating your very will to move. You fight, but this time, it's different. It's not a battle of willpower anymore. It's as if the very essence of your body has been subdued, held down by a force that is both inside and outside of you. The more you struggle, the more it tightens its hold. Your heart races, not because of fear, but because of sheer desperation. You can feel your pulse throbbing in your chest, your breath coming in shallow gasps. Some people report feeling as though their body is being physically held down, hands pressing on their chest, a weight on their body that feels almost tangible. It's the death grip, but not in the literal sense. Instead, it's the feeling of being trapped, of being immobilized with no escape. And it's at this point that time seems to stand still. Minutes stretch into eternity. The longer you stay in this state, the more the psychological impact intensifies. Your thoughts begin to race. What is happening to me? Why can't I wake up? It's a feeling of being caught between two worlds, and it feels like the moment right before everything goes dark. The body is still in a state of paralysis, but the mind has crossed over into a new kind of fear, one that plays on the very essence of survival, the will to break free. Level 8. The shadows have learned your name. They no longer linger in corners. They move. A figure crosses the room with the slow confidence of something that has been here before. You can feel it before you see it. The shift in air, the vibration in the mattress, the soft exhale beside your ear. Its hand, or something like a hand, rests on your leg, light but undeniable. You can't see a face, only an outline, darker than darkness itself. The silence bends around it, swallowing every sound except your pulse. You try to tell yourself this isn't real, but the warmth of its breath says otherwise. It leans closer. You feel words that aren't spoken, cold thoughts pressing against your mind, whispering that it's been waiting. Every instinct tells you to run, to fight, to scream, but your body, your voice, your will, all belong to it now. The room has become a stage for something ancient and patient, and all you can do is lie still and hope it loses interest before you do. Level 9. At this level, you're no longer just trapped in your body. You're isolated, entirely removed from any connection to the outside world. Your eyes are open, but you cannot speak. You cannot reach out. You cannot even acknowledge the people you love, as though a silent barrier exists between your mind and the world around you. At this level, it's not just about the struggle, it's the total isolation. It feels as though there's no one else in the room with you, no one to hear you, no one to see you. In some extreme cases, people report the sensation that time has stopped. They feel locked in a void, unable to escape, and this feeling of being disconnected from reality is often described as a form of mental suffocation, the worst kind of loneliness imaginable, as you try to scream or move, but nothing happens. This is when the boundaries between physical paralysis and mental paralysis blur, and you realize you can't even control your thoughts. It is, in essence, the ultimate psychological horror, the feeling of being so disconnected from your own body that you become lost in your own mind. Level 10. Now, the experience takes a more profound turn. You feel yourself drifting away. You're floating in darkness, yet your body is still here, immobile. For some, this stage is almost dreamlike. There's no sharp feeling of pain, no presence of demons. Instead, it's as if you're slipping into an alternate reality, a long tunnel, a long hallway of shadows. At this point, you might feel as if you're heading toward the afterlife, or you might think you are dying. The hallucinations are now mixed with a sense of detachment, like you're watching yourself from a distance. Your body is still, but your consciousness seems to be drifting farther away. It's described by many as an out-of-body experience, but with a feeling of dread that eclipses any peaceful serenity you might imagine. The tunnel appears, the lights flicker, and your mind races between fear and acceptance. Many people find this experience terrifyingly real. They believe in that moment they are dying. They might feel their body fading, and yet they still can't escape. The illusion of passing on, of slipping away from your body, of leaving life behind, becomes overwhelming. But this is not death. This is your brain playing tricks, crossing the thin line between waking and dreaming. Level 11. At this stage, everything inside you is pushing towards a singular goal: wake up. Every part of your mind is screaming for release. You are aware. You can feel the fear tightening. You can feel your body, heavy, immobile. It's like trying to scream in a nightmare, but the scream doesn't escape. It's muffled. It's caught in the deep silence of paralysis. What's frightening about this level is the intensity of the scream you can't make. You feel it deep in your chest, rising like a desperate cry for help, yet you can't release it. It's as if you've become a prisoner within your own mind, and the world around you, the people you want to reach, cannot hear you. Your body is frozen, but your mind is alive, racing, fighting, trying desperately to regain control. It's at this point that you feel the sensation of life leaving you, only to return once you finally manage to break free. The fight for freedom is exhausting, and every second feels like a decade. Level 12. Finally, you wake up. Your eyes snap open. You're back in your bed. The room looks familiar again, but the relief isn't immediate. Your body is still heavy. Your breath is quick. Your heart is pounding in your chest. You feel as if you've just escaped something terrible. At this level, the crushing sense of panic doesn't fade instantly. There's a lingering feeling of dread, of wondering if it was real, or if you've only just awoken from one nightmare into another. Some people wake up shaking, others with a sense of confusion, unsure whether the experience was a dream or an actual part of their reality. For many, the immediate aftermath is just as distressing as the paralysis itself. You might wonder if you'll experience it again. You might wonder if you truly have control over your body. Sleep paralysis doesn't end with waking. It lingers like an aftertaste that doesn't wash away. But then you take a breath. You realize you're okay, you're safe, and you fall back into the comfort of your bed, trying to forget what just happened, until, of course, the next time.